think we're live. Hello everybody, if you're there. Welcome to Hillhouse. We're not quite ready to start yet. We will be in a few minutes' time. It's my dog Troy. Say hello to him. I have a small interest in ancient Greek history, so hence the name. There's a few people here that can say hello. My wife Kira and our little baby is Roisin. She was born in December. And my little girl Fia. You saying hello? Good girl. And then we also have Reese is here. Saying hi, Reese.
Hello, everyone.
We'll come back to Reese in a minute. He's doing a very important job. 25 people here. That's nice to see. Hello, welcome to Hillhouse, as I said before. It's not a very nice day here, but that's the luck of the draw, I suppose, in farming. We're in the sheep shed here at Hillhouse. Not something we use an awful lot at lambing time. A few people coming in, which is nice. Ruth, will you let me know when it's... I've also got my sister Ruth is here. She's helping with the technical side of things. If someone could let me know that they can hear me okay, that would be a big help. Oh, Massachusetts, wonderful. Fantastic initiative, Lambing Live. We're just delighted to be taking part. I've been watching lots of the videos, which is great. It's nice to see what all the other people are doing around Scotland at lambing time. David, thank you very much. You're hearing me fine. That's good. Excellent. That's good to know. Wonderful. How are we for time, Ruth?
Still got a couple of minutes.
Want to make sure we...
Tracy Ferguson.
Tracy's here. Our good friend Tracy from Scottish Borders Sporting. We might mention them a bit more later on. Nice to have you with us. Troy is very wet. You might be able to see he's a bit of a soggy dog today. We have had a lot of rain in the last 24 hours, which not what we want to have at lambing time. Makes things a wee bit tricky. But anyway, hopefully the sheep are geared up for that. We're focusing on genetics and mothering ability, making sure that they're all good mothers and that they're able to do the job. It's their most important job of the year, so it's good to have a little bit of a challenge every now and again to make sure that they can get their lambs through the worst of Scotland's weather. So we're just 1 minute to go, that's good. We're in the Scottish Borders, south of Scotland. We're just about 20 miles south of Edinburgh. Toronto, great. Been to Toronto a couple of times myself. Went there on a rugby tour when I was young. Great place. Lovely, friendly people. Michigan, wow. This is just amazing. I'm just so pleased to be taking part in this. It's really great to be able to show people all over the world. Leslie McLean says hi. Hi, Leslie. Hopefully Hamish and Sam will be able to join us later on, maybe when they're home from school. Two little pals of mine. It's good, lots of people coming in. 1 o'clock, right, 1 o'clock. Hello, welcome to Lambathon at Hillhouse Farm in the Scottish Borders. We're absolutely delighted to be taking part in this. It's a fantastic initiative. We've got people from all over the world joined us already, showing an interest in what we do here in Scotland. So we are in the Scottish Borders in the south of Scotland. We're about 20 miles outside Edinburgh, which is great for getting into the city whenever you need to. So we have a 1,500-acre hill farm here, well, upland farm, not quite hill farm, upland, and we have a couple of thousand sheep here, and another farm 5 miles away, which I'll tell you a bit more about as we're driving around. So we've started off in the lambing shed, not something we use an awful lot at lambing time. We lamb outdoors, all the sheep are lambed outdoors, nothing is lambed inside. So anything that is in here today, I'll just give you a wee spin round of the camera. So we've got Some sheep that are in that maybe have had a wee bit of a problem, or their lambs are just were just born in this horrendous weather that we've had today. This ewe here, good big ewe, but she's got a couple of lambs that are in the hot box over here to keep them warm them up a wee bit. They must have just been born this morning. So we'll get them out of the hot box and back to mummy later on. Another ewe here. These are some of our Texel Hlyn cross ewes, but we're actually largely focusing on wool shedding sheep here. So some of those here, we've got a bit of a mixed bag. These ewes are all in what we call lamb adopters. So these are all just having a little bit of time in this contraption where their head is on one side and the lamb is on the other, and it just gives the lamb a little opportunity to get used to a new mummy. These lambs have been fostered onto these ewes. They sadly lost their ewes in this bad weather, so we have done a neat little trick where we can make a little coat. This was one that just came in this morning, a first-time mother, and her little lamb didn't manage to survive the horrible weather we had last night, so we have taken one of our triplet lambs, nice little triplet lamb here, and we have given it to this mother so that she can rear it, and she'll be able to be involved in rearing a lamb over the summer, which is good. And a few others here that have all in the same. There's another one, same story. This has got a little coat on that belonged to the lamb that she unfortunately lost, so we've been able to give this lamb a new mummy, and they'll be able to rear that this summer, which is great. So we're going to be getting in the truck now. My family have come to say hello. It's my wife Kira, my two little girls. Fia, are you going to say hi? A big smile. Good girl. And our little baby Roisin was born in December. My little boy Connell is at school at the moment, so a big shout out to all the kids at the local primary school. We've got a school in Lauder, where my little boy is, and another school in Oxton. Two local schools. Hopefully there'll be some of the kids will be watching this. Now I'm just going to hand this over to Ruth. He's very kindly going to hold that. So we're going to go out and we're going to have a little look around, and as I mentioned before, it's been very wet today, but the sun has just started to appear, so hopefully that'll mean that some of the sheep will be out eating the grass rather than nestling in behind the hedges, which we're very lucky at Hillhouse. Lots of lovely hedges, lots of lovely natural shelter, and some shelter that we've put in over the years just to make sure that they are nice and cozy this time of year. So we're just heading up the hill. If Ruth spins the camera around, there's some of our ewes are just side of the window here. So all of these sheep this morning were down in the bottom corner, out of the wind, out of the rain. These are all singles. They're all rearing one lamb, making a good job of it so far. Rain coming back on again. Right up the hill. So this is Hillhouse Farm in Scottish Borders. We are just under 1,500 acres here, and as the name suggests, we're on top of a hill, which on a lovely sunny day is wonderful. On a day like today, not quite so wonderful, but anyway, that's what happens. So we just have to roll with the punches on days like this. So we're actually coming up past a hill fort here. Interesting archaeological feature. My archaeologist Donald goes back to 40 AD. Which is a great feature to have on the farm. Nice, interesting thing to come and see. We fenced it off just to make sure that we preserve it as best we can. So this would have been a century 40 AD, and you would find that you would have some walls, wooden, probably timber walls around, stockades, bit of protection. And the interesting thing about the borders, we have about 400 similar forts in the borders, so
She can't hear very well.
lots of these dotted around the country. So if you're interested in archaeology, it's a wonderful place to come and visit. So just bump across this field as we head up to hopefully see some lambs. We're quite far through lambing. We started on the 15th of April. So you've actually had a fast and furious lambing, which is good in a lot of ways. We just get the job done. So sheep are in good form this year, just getting their lambs out, rearing everything that they're supposed to. Right, so here's one of our lambing fields. About 80 sheep in here. We're just going to drive up through this field and we'll probably come back to these on the way home. We're going to go up and have a look at some of the views before the weather gets too atrocious. It's been an awful 24 hours of rain, which we've been desperately needing. Nice twin ewes there. Mother doing an excellent job. Lambs one removed. Some younger ones there, which is good. So that's the rain just coming on again. This is the downside of doing an outdoor lambing, where we're a bit open to the elements. But that's just one of these things. We've chosen to go for the outdoor lambing. In most situations it's great. We give all the sheep every possible opportunity to demonstrate that they can do the job themselves. And you know, that's the basis of our farming system here. So we want to find the ewes that are able to do it themselves and separate out the ones that maybe aren't quite as good mothers. And so we only select replacements.
There's a question here. What's your average loss rate with outdoor lambing?
Well, I mean, it's inevitably going to be higher than any indoor lambing system. Lots of people have nice big sheds and they bring all the sheep in, they lamb them inside. We just unfortunately don't have good enough sheds here to be able to do that. So the losses are going to be higher. We try and keep them as low as possible. There are things we can do, some of which is working really well. I think our ewes are doing an excellent job, particularly this year actually. I think the winter feeding policy was very good this year. The sheep were in good condition going into the winter, which means they're just much more likely to be able to get a lamb out and rear it through these kind of harsher weather days. We've had absolutely wonderful weather this year at lambing time, but unfortunately it's just turned on us in the last day or two. We had lots and lots of sunny days, which was great, so the lamb's got a really good start in life, which is exactly what we need. So we've come up onto just about the top of the farm here. We started off at about 800 feet at the steading, and we've come up to, we're well above 1,000. We're probably up to about 1,200 feet now. So you can see the views. This is all of us here. This is the country that we're working in. So actually from lambing time, we've got lots of great shelter. There are sheep down in the bottom here. If this just pans the camera around in front of us through the windscreen wipers, you'll be able to see there's lots of natural shelter. These little woods, which are great, the sheep can tuck in behind those. They get out of the wind and the rain, and they're much more likely to be on their feet. And you know, that's the most important thing at lambing. Get the lambs out, get them out of the weather, get a belly full of milk, and if you get that done, then you know that's a lot of the battle.
Somebody, Abby Loughlin Cottages, is saying, even on a wet day it looks fab.
Oh, well, that's very kind.
Encouraging.
Thank you very much. It's a bit of a shame that we haven't got the weather that we're hoping for. You know, we've had 2 weeks of glorious sunshine, which was really nice. And then unfortunately the weather is not playing ball today, but that is, you know, provides us with something else to talk about, which, you know, just the value of our breeding policy. So as I said, we're very much looking to identify the sheep that are able to do the job and the ones that can't. We don't do a lot of intervention. There are 200 singles lambing in this field, and I haven't had to lamb a single one, which, if I think back to when I first started lambing here about 10 years ago, we would be catching sheep all day long, bringing them in, having to physically pull the lambs out of them, which is very stressful for the ewe, very stressful for the lamb. So we have made significant advances by focusing on the genetics and making sure that the sheep are able to do the job themselves. It's the most important job of the year for them, and rearing that lamb, if they can do it by themselves without us interfering, it makes such a big difference to them in the future. So these are just some of our single bearing ewes here. I'll just try and squeeze past them right the way. So they found this nice beech hedge to our right, and they're just sheltering in behind that. So we operate 2 farms. We have been here at Hillhouse for 90 years as a family. I'm the 4th generation farmer. I farm with my dad Jim. He is based across, he lives on this farm, but he spends his days at a farm that's 5 miles away, just into Midlothian, so only about 15 miles south of Edinburgh. A nice farm. It's an organic farm, which is good. Hillhouse was organic for a long time, but we decided a few years ago to take it out of the organic scheme, but we've kept Fallomains in, and it's great. We'd like to operate part of the farm organically.
And the rest
so we
is
have
completely free range.
We have about 950 adult sheep at Fallomains, the farm 5 miles away, on a very good, lots of good grass across there. And here we have just over 2,000 ewes lambing at the moment. Predominantly our ewes are wool shedding, or some people call them easy cares, which is something that we've been sort of getting into in the last 5 years. So in 2016 we converted over to a more traditional ewe, which was a sort of Texel Hlyn cross. I'm just in this field here. You might have to put your window down just to be able to see.
Yeah, a bit more of a view. Good point.
So these are some of our easy cares.
Your neighbour Richard Curtin is watching.
Richard, hello Richard. Loves to come out and go for walks around the farm. So wool shedding sheep. Wool having been the backbone of the British economy for a long time, many years ago, unfortunately it's fallen slightly out of favour. So we have opted to breed sheep that are able to shed their wool in the summer. It's not quite been warm enough yet for them to be scratching it off on the fence lines, but you can see they're starting to get a bit straggly. Some of them are shedding their wool. A couple of Suffolks in here as well. A wee bit early, just before I had time to get them into the correct field, but that's okay, don't mind that.
Somebody's asking, when do they shed their wool?
When do they shed their wool? Well, they're starting to now. Actually, the heavy rain we've had over the last 24 hours has really helped shed some of the wool off. Every time they shake their fleeces, some wee bits of wool come off and they land on the ground. Some people don't like it, makes a bit of a mess of the field, some people think, but we don't mind that. The birds are quite good at tidying it all up. They take it away, use it for nest building. Otherwise it just breaks down into the soil, goes back into the land again, which is all part of the natural cycle. Here's a new pair of lambs. I don't think we're going to see a live lambing today. We're probably too far through, but these lambs have just been born overnight. Mother doing a great job. She's got them up on their feet. One of them is in underneath her having a good drink of milk. and they're looking quite good on a day as miserable as this. That's a great thing to see. So these sheep in here, this is a slightly special group of sheep. We bought some new tups, or rams as some people would call them, from a very good couple of farmers, Tom and Sandy Welsh, and they do something interesting. They do some performance recording of their sheep, so they're able to monitor individuals over a number of years, and they are then able to put a number, an index as we call it, onto each individual male sheep, and we can then look at that index and decide what are the things that we want to have in our flock, and we can choose sheep based on their ability to do certain things. So something really important to us, mothering ability. A ewe there has just called to her 2 lambs to bring them in, so that says to me that the breeding policy is working well. We've got lambs that are able to survive in the worst of weather, and mothers that make a good job of looking after their lambs, making sure they always get a couple. Here's one here that's lost her fleece. There are 5 sheep here that actually managed to escape onto a neighbouring farm. Luckily they managed to take one of the tups with them, so we're hoping they're in lamb, but they haven't been ultrasound scanned, so we don't know what they're carrying. So they've got a sort of purple mark on them, just so I can keep an eye on them and make sure they end up in the right field at the end of lambing.
A question for you: do you lose any lambs to foxes, Dave?
We don't have a big problem with foxes here. Our biggest problem is actually from the skies. Terrors of the skies are our biggest predatory problem. We have a lot of seagulls and big black crows that come in, so that is something that concerns me a bit. We don't lose many. It's not something that I'm overly worried about, but it is something that we just have to keep an eye on. It's very sad to see, you go out in the morning and you find particularly young sheep. I think they are a bit prone to it. They will have 2 lambs, and while they're probably lambing the second lamb, one of these big blackback gulls comes in and targets the newborn lamb, which is really sad. It's not something that we want to see. So again, it's just something that the mothering ability of the sheep plays an important part in this, making sure that the mother is protecting her lambs as much as she possibly can. So we will only select lambs to come into the flock to produce more lambs in the coming years. We'll only select lambs that have come from ewes that have managed to rear what they were scanned for. The important part of what we do.
Question from Peter Scott is near
yeah.
Deborah is asking if you sell any lamb wool shedding tups.
We haven't sold any actually. It is something that we're planning to do in the future. We haven't done that yet. It's nice to have you here, Peter. But it is something we're probably going to look to do. We're focusing on ourselves. So we breed our own tups. That's the focus at the moment. We try and pick the very best of the tups that we produce every year. We have various ways that we identify which ones are going to be the best for us, and we keep maybe 50 of those, take them through, and there's a constant selection policy happening. So all the time we're discarding sheep that aren't really getting up to the mark. So the way we do that, it sounds very aggressive.
Peter says he wants to put down for a few.
He's going to put his name down for a few. That sounds good to me. Happy with that. So what we do is we split the flock into 2. We have an A team and a B team. So these are some of our B team ewes. So these are sheep that at some point in their lives we've decided that they aren't quite doing as good a job as the sheep that are in the A team. So that allows us to then, and the biggest selection policy there is probably going to be at lambing time. So these are, the majority of the sheep in this field that are in the B team are from our previous breed of sheep. So this Texel Hlyn cross, a good sheep, quite a big bodied sheep, but they don't shed their wool. So now that we're focusing on wool shedding, we've decided that all the ewes that we used to have now, they've been demoted into the B team, and we're breeding these wool shedding varieties. So it's important that we have this A team and B team, because it allows us to select positively for things that we want to have in the flock, and it allows us to just keep the number of sheep that we have at around 2,000 on this farm. So we don't want to cull too many of them. Now, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but we have been through 3 fields and we haven't actually opened a gate yet. So we have these wonderful grids which we have scattered around the farm, which allow us to hop over, not open any gates. Saves quite a lot of time during the day. So one of the other things we do here at Hillhouse, we have a small engineering company, agriculture engineering, so Lauderdale Engineering is what we call that, and we fix a variety of farm machinery, and we also produce items that are going to be of use to the farming community. Some of those things. So my quad bike, for example, has got quite a few modifications on it. Reece just coming back into the shed there. A few things that we've been able to do ourselves. But something that we've been focusing on in recent years is our agri-tourism business. So we're just going to head down the road for a moment. I don't think I mentioned the team that we've got here today. We had Reece working in the shed. I just seen him when we panned around. Reece has come from the Borders College. He does a couple of days a week with us here as part of his course. So he's just 17 years old. It's nice to have young people getting into the industry. And we also have an incredibly experienced chap called Andrew Dickman, who has been lambing here for a long time. He's doing he thinks his 85th lambing this year. Not all of them have been at Hillhouse. He started when he was 14, and he's been lambing a couple of times every year ever since. So 85 years in, and it's great to have him here. So what he does is he looks after the sheep that have had problems in the past that have now ended up in the B team. So I look after the A team sheep, which means that they are largely getting on with everything themselves. I look them once a day, drive around and just make sure there aren't any problems. We don't tend to be physically pulling lambs out of ewes. We have focused heavily on the breeding policy to make sure that the sheep are able to do that job themselves. So Andrew is here specifically to look after the B team, so they're sheep that probably have had a problem in the past and need a little bit of extra care. So an experienced pair of hands to do that job really makes all the difference at the end of the day. And then Dad is at Falamain, so he has the same role as me, just looking after an A-team flock across there, 950 ewes. So it's quite a lot for one person to look after. His friend Colin comes and gives him a bit of a help, feeding some of the sheep that come into the pens. So we're getting to the end. It's gone so quickly.
We've got 5 minutes left.
5 minutes left. Oh my goodness. So Doug Innes is watching. Hi Doug, great to have you along.
Some people from Cork actually as well.
Some Cork
Mary
people
Flynn
watching.
is
Oh,
watching.
Mary's here. Great to have you along, Mary. Love to have you here. Right, here we are. So one of our cottages, farmer shepherd's cottages that we have here on the farm. We have 3 cottages currently. This is one of them. This is Highfield. It's split into 2. We've got a main door here, and then there's another cottage around the corner. So that's a 2-bedroom cottage for rental. Mum looks after the cottages for us, having retired from the hotel industry a few years ago. So that's now her focus, is looking after these. So we're delighted to welcome people. This is cottage number 2 here. I'll just look round the front just to give you an idea. So we've got some great views. People to come up and say there's lots to do in the Borders, a fantastic part of the country. So this is, here we go, former shepherd's cottage there. And we'll just have a quick look inside, might as well, seeing as we're here. So the Borders, it's a great part of Scotland. No need to go up to the Highlands, we've got it all here in the Borders. Lots of golf and fishing and every activity you can think of, lots of hill walking. So we've opened this out, made it nice and open plan. A couple of bedrooms upstairs, small sitting room in here, whistle stop tour. Go through. There's so much to do here. So if you're looking for a place to stay, it's been a difficult year for everybody with the pandemic, but I think a lot of people are probably going to focus on having their holidays a bit closer to home, less airplane travel. So if you're looking for somewhere to go, country sports obviously a big thing here. We're delighted to have country sports tenant, Scottish Borders Sporting, Tracy and Stuart, lovely couple who come up here. They can do clay pigeon shooting in the summer, tomahawk throwing, bit of archery, whatever you want to do. They are delighted to be able to offer that. They'll come up to the farm, set everything up for us, and then anyone that wants to get involved in that kind of thing. And then a wee addition, we're just going to sneak down here past the farmhouse where Mum and Dad are. We've very recently, it's not quite finished yet, but we've put in a tennis court for people staying in the cottages. I'm really excited about this. It's going to be a great asset for us. Tennis with a view, that's what we're going for here. You might be able to... Tracy's reminding me that they do simulated game shooting. So it's just great fun. Lots of clay pigeons flying all over the place. If anyone's done that before, or even if you haven't, Tracy's an excellent teacher. She'll keep you right, show you what's going on. So that's our tennis court. It's not quite finished yet. We're going to get painted in the next couple of weeks. So that'll be there, freely available for guests to use. We did have some sheep in front of the tennis court, but they've all decided to head down out of this miserable weather, out of the rain. And we'll just wander back up to the front of the house. Any other questions coming in, Ruth? Head round. So the sorry you've not really been able to see as much of the sheep as we wanted. It's tricky on a day like today. We try to leave them alone as much as we can when you've got this horrible wind coming in from the north and some rain as well. They're best left alone. We don't want to disturb them too much, just to make sure that they're able to keep their lambs. That's us at the front of the farmhouse here. Spin around, a view down over Lauderdale there. You'd normally be able to see the Eildon Hills in the background, down just outside Melrose, but unfortunately we've not got the weather for it today. It's all a bit miserable, but we've been absolutely delighted to be involved in Lambathon this year. Fantastic initiative, and we are, just so pleased to be able to show people. We've got people watching in Cork, where my wife is from. We've got Julia Donovan. Oh, hi Julia, it's great to have you along. She's watching in Cork, a budding farmer, I'm being told here in the comments. So it's just so good to be able to show people all over the world what we're doing here in Scotland. I think farming's been under a bit of pressure recently, but we do something that we specialise in here. We've got a lot of areas of the farm that are currently shut up at the moment. We don't let sheep in, and that's to try and protect the ground nesting birds. It's an important time of year for them, so we do whatever we can to protect them. So there's 6 fields higher up on the farm that we don't put any sheep into, and that's really important. We've put in a lot of hedging, 20 kilometres of hedging, and about 13 ponds, just to make sure that the wildlife also gets a chance here. And something else that we're focusing on is our environmental considerations. So we've actually transferred all the cottages over to biomass heating, which is really good. So no more oil used to heat the cottages. We are able to harvest our own timber on the farm and use that to heat the cottages. So lovely warm cottages without the environmental impact, which is great. And I think that's us. We're at the end. So thank you very much for tuning in. Lovely to have you with us.